What's going on, AFRODIASPO family, man? We are back with another sensational episode, man. Welcome back to the show. Once again, I would like to invite everybody to go on subscribe to the channel. We had a great show from last week with MP. Gave us a really amazing, very amazing story that we learned a lot from it. So do not forget to subscribe to the channel, man. We got a lot more learning to do here. We're going to keep learning. We're going to keep having great guests who's going to provide us with very good stories. But before that, man, you know the rule. You know what's going on. We're going to go to the hot list of the week.
Yeah.
Major, what's up, man? Tell me what's going on.
Yo, BK. There's a lot this week. Wow. I don't even know where to start from.
Yes, sir.
I got a book with me here, right?
Okay.
I know we're going to go through this book, but this is also part of the hot list.
Okay.
Just to let you know, right?
He's getting hot.
Just to let you know. This is actually the main hot list for this, whatever we're doing tonight. But other than that, there are songs that are coming out.
Yes.
You know, I have a single coming out, and it's a gospel song, and I feel like it's one of my best songs.
I was waiting for you to release, man. You know, I like listening to your music. I like vibe music. Everybody who don't know, man, Major just been killing the game, man, and he's gonna continue killing the game. So if you haven't subscribed to Major's channels yet, man, go ahead and listen to Major's music. It's just a blessing, man. I love your crap, bro. I tell you that every day, but I need to tell you again.
Thank you so much, BK.
Of course.
The good thing about that song is that I wrote it, I produced it, and I sang it in one day. So I'm trying to start working that way. So I don't want to waste time anymore because I feel like there's a lot of things to do. So yeah. The other thing that we have this week is we had, you know, the great song by BK and Savannah, Forever. I feel like that's going to be forever on, you know, in our brains.
What makes me happy is my mom's been dancing ever since the song released, man. She's dancing.
Wow.
Yeah. She's really vibing with the song. So I'm very happy for the feedbacks that we got from that song. Shout out to Savannah once again from just being there and creating that great, amazing project. Shout out to you, Savannah, man. The song is on YouTube now. The link is in my bio.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and check it out, man. Comment anything you think about the song. Let me know, man. But I appreciate all the support and all the feedbacks, man. It's been great, man.
That was really great. That's a really cool song.
Yeah.
And it's so meaningful. The production is really sick. It's so beautiful.
Man.
And I feel like everybody's going to be tuned to that. We also had Jordan C. Just write Jordan C. C like Charlie.
Jordan.
Yeah.
I'm so glad he just came back strong, man.
Yeah.
And I see him putting more work into it. That's why I tell him every day, you got to keep coming strong, man. Because this is just...
He's really working hard.
You know?
Yeah.
And I see he's up to a music
video. Yeah, there's a music video coming out.
Yeah.
For one of his songs. Yeah. It's cool music video. I don't think I've ever done a music video like this before.
Wow.
Yeah, that's me being honest.
Wow.
So I think that's gonna be a cool one.
So, Jordan, man, now you got me shaking here, man. So yeah, let's go.
So yeah, so I don't want to go very far.
Too much.
So yeah, but I think that's what we have for this week so far.
Not a bad week, man. We're excited, but we're excited for a lot more coming up this upcoming months, man. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And but we're gonna dive into the main of the goal today, man. Today we're about to learn about some financial.
Before you go there,
yes,
we got sponsors, right?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Every show supposed to have a sponsor, and I feel like that the guest of tonight will be our sponsor.
Oh.
I feel like he's gonna become our sponsor in the future. Because you know, of course, you know, we gotta learn how to manage money.
Okay, let's go.
And also, the same people who teach you how to manage money can be your managers too.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because they understand a lot.
Yes.
So tonight's show is sponsored by AFRODIASPO itself.
Yeah.
And then we also have Aussie Music. If you want to check some cool beats, Afro beats, and, you know, just write down Aussie.
Shout out to Aussie Music, man.
O like Oscar, S like Sarah, then E like elephant. And then Aussie Music on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere you will find that, and you'll be happy.
Amazing. Yeah. We're gonna dive into it, man, because this thing really caught my eye. As soon as you saw it, you just show out there. It really caught my eyes. For everybody who's struggling with, we know how difficult it is now. You know, living in Canada. Pretty sure everywhere, actually, man. People, this video is gonna hopefully go around the world, and people are gonna learn a lot more about it. But Um, this right here, I'm introducing to you Brighton Barazia. You know what I'm saying? And
I'll correct you on that. It's Brighton Gbarazia.
so Barazia,
Barazia. That's an African name, man. That's an African name. Barazia.
Brighton Barazia.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta say Barazia.
Not Barazia.
But hey, we're gonna put the camera to him, man. Introduce yourself, man. I'm sorry. I tried, man. I tried. Okay.
Hey man, you did good. You did good.
Yeah.
So you're good. It's Barazia.
Barazia.
But you're good.
What did I say? What did you say?
Barazia.
Barazia.
I was close, man. You're fooling me. I was close.
No, you said Barazia, and I said Barazia.
He is between. You're in between the two of them, though, right?
Yeah.
Because I could Barazia, and you say Barazia.
The fact you even said it right, I'm good, man. You got it, right? I'm cool with it.
Well,
Right?
Beautiful.
It's not like when I was like in school, you know, like they would call my name out and they would say Brighton, there would be this awkward like pause, right?
Yeah.
And everyone just knew it was that black kid that they can't say his last name. Okay, he's coming up.
That reminds me of this meme I was scrolling down, saw on Instagram, man. The teacher's spelling people's names wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, "Where's Jordan?"
Jordan.
And then the guy was like, "Jordan is here." I think the teachers were crazy, man. But Brighton, man, welcome to the show, man. It's so good to have you here, bro.
No, awesome. Thank you so much for having me here, man.
Yes.
I'm glad to be on here, man. This
Absolutely.
is great. Yeah.
We want to know about you, bro. I want to know where you born, man, and
Sure.
how long about you been here, and how long about you been getting to financial situation.
Absolutely happy to answer the question. So, yeah, Brighton, I'm originally from Nigeria. My family immigrated to Canada. We landed in Halifax. We're refugees. So we landed in Halifax, spent about 6 to a year there. There's no jobs in Halifax. So my dad made the move out to back west now to Calgary, and pretty much grew up in Calgary this whole time.
Wow.
And then just in university, I went to Kwantlen. So I had a full ride scholarship to Kwantlen to play basketball. And then after finishing university, went into banking. I've been in banking pretty much since university. Worked for Scotiabank, worked for CIBC, MCAP, Prospera. Been doing that for like 10 plus years, doing like mortgage underwriting, financial advising, any kind of underwriting you can think of when it comes to banking. That's what I've done. And then this last 2 years, I kind of made a pivot because I was building this idea because I wanted to reach financial independence. Like I think we all want to do that, right? At the end of the day, like no one really wants to have the stress of money, but you gotta know how money works. So I had this point I was like, okay,
I'm sorry, bro. Sorry to cut you off. Can you get a little closer to the mic?
Oh yeah,
people gotta hear this,
guys.
man. People gotta.
Sorry. So yeah, the last couple of years, this last 2 years, I decided to make a pivot to kind of go into business for myself, and that's kind of how this book came about. Is I really, when I worked at the bank, when you go to bank, like a lot of times when you're dealing with people, it's just like someone who's like trying to sell you stuff, right? And I didn't like that because I was thought to myself, like, if I'm going to the bank, I try to advise people, like, if my mom was in front of me, right? I know that's like a high standard nowadays for financial services, but like, you got to think about it. Like, people don't need to buy products. They need to buy good advice, right? So I wanted to create this business. And that's why I wrote the book, is because I got tired of the way that people were teaching people how to buy homes, which was the whole idea of just like, you buy a home, you know, that whole dream, you know, we think about that, buy the picket fence, you know, and everything's going to be fine. Your house is going to go up 200%, whatever. And yeah, that works out. But nowadays we're all seeing it like you can't even afford the home, right? So now what do you do, right? So I want to kind of give people that information where before you go to a mortgage broker or you go to a real estate professional, you actually know how this process works. Because if you know how it works, you know the right questions to ask someone to figure out if they're actually working out for your interest. If you don't know how stuff works, you're just going to listen to whatever they say, right?
That's true.
Because you don't know any different, right? So that's kind of what I've been doing. And with that, I started my company, Wealth Marathon, which is the idea, again, just to kind of spill more of the information I've learned at the bank, teach people how money works without you feeling that pressure to have to buy a product or wonder, like, is this guy or girl actually giving me the right advice, or are they just pushing me this way because they get sell a product, they get commission off it. So that's why I do a Wealth Marathon, just giving like a broader experience about finances. So I talk about things like real estate, or if I'm buying like commercial properties, things like that, a little more in depth that you can learn more information on the actual private community. So long-winded answer, but that's a little bit about me.
That was the entire show. Jay.
We're gonna break it down slowly.
You will break it down. We'll break it down.
But that's really good, man. Looks like you've had a hell of a start, man. Like, especially going to Halifax first.
Yeah.
How was he living there for like?
Halifax is
cold?
dope, man. Halifax is a dope place. Like in Canada, it's unfortunate because like I come from a warm climate, so I don't do well in cold. But
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We all got.
But I'm just saying, like Halifax is cool because it's like a small town, right?
Yeah.
Like they have this small town vibe. It's just it's got no job there. So like you think about like at the time it was me and my sister and my mom and my dad. So when they came to Halifax, you're an immigrant and you're trying to take care of these two kids and there's no job. So then you're trying to figure like, okay, what do I do? So my pop was just like, we got to go where jobs are. And back then it was Alberta because Alberta has oil, right? So we went out there to try to get more of an income to take care of these two little kids in a brand new part of the world and completely different system. So I love Halifax. I always have like a passion to go back to Halifax. It's just, they got no jobs.
Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe now with my company, I can work remote and all that. So maybe I can go back to Halifax. But it was cool growing up in Halifax. Probably a good place for us to start up because they have that small town feeling. Probably set me up to when you go to Calgary, which is a bigger city. And then you have just the experience you have when you're black and in Canada and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Then you came here, and that's when you started your university. You came here.
Yeah.
Right.
So the way the university worked is I came from. So when my family moved to Calgary, I came out here to BC for schooling, just because I wanted to like experience something different, right? So I was like, initially was trying to get scholarship to the United States for basketball, but I realized that wasn't happening because in the States when you're trying to play basketball, like they start recruiting like in grade 6. So like in Canada, what a lot of us used to do when you're trying to go play ball in the States is you actually have to go to like a U.S. high school. So my parents didn't have the money, and I wasn't like I was good, but I wasn't that good to like have someone like get me through that kind of system because it would be like a huge waste of money. So that's why I focused on like, hey, I'm still good enough to actually like get a scholarship in Canada. So I was like, at the end of the day, I just want my education, right?
Yeah.
My parents weren't going to be able to pay for schooling for me, so I was like, this was my ticket.
Yeah.
So I worked hard to play ball, and then I got the scholarship. And then I landed in Kwantlen, and then the rest is kind of history. I just stayed out here because I loved BC because just like all of us stay in BC, there's so many things to do in BC, right? Like you can like go skiing one day, you can go have some
British
wine.
Columbia, man, I'll tell you.
It's beautiful, but it's expensive as hell.
But that's what we're here to learn. That's what we're here. That's what we gotta know how this shit works, man.
Just a quick
Beautiful,
question.
but
Just a quick question.
yeah.
How old were you when you moved here? Like your entire family from Africa?
Yeah, I was 6 or 7.
Oh, no wonder you got to the point where you erased the Nigerian accent, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny about that is like I always tell that story because like when I was younger, it was like people always picked up the accent, right? Because you got the Nigerian dialect in there. And then it's funny now when I tell people I'm from Nigeria, they don't believe me because they don't have any trace of it.
Yeah.
So it's like
You're
full
not from
circle,
Nigeria,
right?
stop lying to me.
Yeah. But then when they say little jokes in Nigeria or whatever, they realize like, oh, okay, he's he knows a little bit what's going on, right?
They call it pidgin, right?
Pidgin English, yeah.
Pidgin English.
Yeah. But which it's funny, I was in Belize and they have they also in English speaking, but they have this thing which sounds like pidgin English. For those of you who are not familiar with basically the term in Nigeria is like we speak English because the history was like England, they conquered everywhere, so Nigeria is one of them. But we speak English, but what they do is like it's like a fast English, so it's kind of broken down.
That's why it is.
It's English. It's just fast English. You gotta kind of like if you slow it down, you can hear what the person says. So if I say like,
that's tough.
What do you say now? Which is just like, what did you say? Right?
But they gotta add the nod at the end.
Yeah. So it's like the same thing. It's just you gotta slow down to pick it up, for a while. So I was saying in Belize, because Belize has the same thing. They speak Creole. I'm saying that wrong, but they speak English, which is their version of like pidgin English too. So because I was walking around, I was like, this sounds like Jamaican. And the guy's like, yo, man. It's not Jamaican. It's like I was like, oh, it's like it's not Jamaican, man. Yeah, it's just like straight me out.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. So he told me they were explaining to me. He's like, it's like pidgin. He's like, it's English, and he said used that phrase pidgin English. And I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, in Nigeria we kind of call the same thing pidgin English. And he's like, yeah, it's English. It's just we break it down. So it sounds like their version of English sounds like Jamaican, like really fast. But then when I slow it down, I'm like, oh, it's the same thing. Like I can't say, but they have a swear word that I love there, which is just well, you think it is the F word, but it sounds so good when they say it.
Oh my God.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It just sounds so lovely when they say it. I'm like, oh, that's
we're not gonna say here.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep
This is a
PG.
family show. Yeah.
Exactly. You went to school. So when you came here, you went to school.
Yeah.
I want to know how that process, because a lot of people struggle with student loan or paying for the courses.
Yeah.
Were you ready for that at that point, or did you just start figuring that out?
Yeah, so like growing up, in the book I have, and there's a story. So we met a family of ours, which is like I call him like my adopted grandfather, white guy. So he kind of guided my family in Calgary. And one day we're like coming home, and he pulled me outside. Because we all go to their house to have dinner and stuff like that, right? So he pulled me when we came back to our place. He pulled me outside. He's like, Brighton, like your parents are not gonna be able to afford to pay for your schooling.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like when you don't have money growing up, you know you don't have money growing up, 100%. Right? Because obviously your friends have different clothes, you're like, you know, whatever. You know you don't have money. You know you're clearly not like the rest of your friends or their peers. But when someone says it to you, like someone older, and your parents are trying to everything to make you feel like, hey, you don't need that, you got love, you got all these different things. But then he just flat out was like, yo, like your parents can't afford to pay for school. And the reason he said that is like, he said to me, he's like, Brian, it's not like your parents can't work hard. Your parents are extremely hard workers. It's just they're at a stage in the system where they don't have enough time to save up for your schooling. So they're not going to be able to afford to pay for your schooling. So at the time I was playing soccer because I'm from Nigeria, so football, you know, that's what I was playing. He's like, you got to make the switch to basketball because Canadians don't care about soccer at that time, right? And he was so right. So he's like, if you are willing to switch because you seem like you're adaptive enough, make the switch to basketball. I think you have a better chance of getting a scholarship, which then can help you go to school. And he's like, you have to go to school because you have to learn what they didn't learn to make sure that you can, you know, do the things that they weren't able to do.
Wow.
So that's how it kind of switched out. So when the school, like student loan, like, yeah, I knew that was, but for me, it was like, no, like I got to go hard in this basketball stuff.
I got it.
Yeah. And it was kind of like, that's why I think like the hunger was so, people who play, like I just like, that was my ticket. So when you played against me, it wasn't just, I was hard working, but it was always like, yo man, like, that's my ticket. Like
this man has it.
It's different, you know, because there's two things you can't teach him. Well, in basketball, I said like you can't teach height to say in basketball. That's what we always say. Like you can't teach height. So if you get 7-footer, you can't teach that. Like 7 foot is 7 foot. But the other things you can't teach that hunger, that fear, that hunger, that ability where you're willing to almost die for, because you know, like, hey, if I don't get it, I'm gonna die anyways. So when I would play against kids, a lot of the kids I play against is like their parents got money, they're just trying to make sure the kids stay out of trouble. You know, little Timmy doesn't. I'm coming in there, I'm like, yo, Timmy, I'm gonna send you home. You know, because to me it was like it wasn't fun. My parents couldn't come to my game. It was like, this is my opportunity and you're in my way, right? So for me, it was like, yeah, I work hard, but I was working hard because I knew like I had to go to school and there was no way my parents could pay for school, right? So that's why, you know, for me, student loan wasn't even a thing. It was like, this is it. Like I have to figure out a path to make this work. And thankfully it all worked out in the end. But I guess if I had to do it, I'd probably figure out the student loan thing, but I just didn't. I was like, I got a scholarship.
Just because most people, they dive into thinking that's their career they want to choose. Yeah. But then a few years later, they make them, because they're already halfway or whatever the case might be into the schooling. So now,
right,
student loan is there.
Yeah, it's there. You made that choice. You gotta have to make sure you pay it off with it. So, and I get a lot of questions about it too. Like, you know, I'm still struggling with this. I don't know how to put it out there. You know, so that's why I wanted to just ask you about that.
I did hear people like growing up, like now, like me being in finance and school and stuff. I think the biggest thing I used to hear, like when I was in university, is like people would use their student loans to like pay for stuff that wasn't related to like schooling too.
Oh.
You know, like they get the money, right? So like you're supposed to be for schooling, but they be doing all these things with the money. So it's just like,
Go buy
so there's,
Gucci.
yeah, there's just, so I think the thing I would say with the student loan thing is obviously, I think it's getting harder. And again, this is someone who's finished school. I have a younger brother and, he's going to school, and it gets harder nowadays to make that case to them, because it's like, okay, I'm going to load up on 50K of debt. And then he's trying to get a job and like, you need experience. He's like, yeah, but how do I get experience if you're not going to give me experience? So now I got this 50K debt. And I'm making sure he doesn't have the debt, but I'm just saying, if he had an actual debt, that's a real serious conversation we all got to start having. Like, what is the value there, right?
100%.
Are they just,
that is very true.
Are they just going to school so they can load up on this debt, and now they're working, but they can never actually get ahead because they got this debt? So what's the value in that? So I get it nowadays, and I think, but growing just me, like my peers, I know someone was on student loans and they weren't using all that money for schooling, which it's supposed to be for schooling. So the first I would say is like, try to use the money for what it's supposed to be for. And then the other thing I also with other friends that are students, it's like, you can still work while you're in student loan. Like, you can get some money, like work some money and try to, pay for your school more if you can. I tell myself, I was in a full ride scholarship, I was in a full ride scholarship, but I still worked the whole time taking my classes. So like, the reality is like, that's also a part of it. Is
that,
like,
you mean if you're not taking full time, or you're still taking full time in work?
Yeah, I was in a full ride scholarship, playing basketball full time and working part time, like 25 hours every week, and I would practice every day, and I had a full course load. So like, you got to figure out what you want to do. And for a lot of, but I get it too nowadays. Like, that's a really good point that you bring up, student loans. Like, I think the argument nowadays is like,
how to balance it out, man.
Yeah.
It's
And in the States, it's crazy, because I heard some crazy numbers in the States, like 300. I'm like, for what?
But I heard that they got pardoned, Biden came in and he's like,
how did schooling get to 300,000? Like, what is the, come on.
He
like,
just forgave everybody. Like, just forgive this thing.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's good. If it's actually true, that's really good.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Apparently, some two Indian students took student loan in America, and they moved to, I don't know, Somalia or Ethiopia, and they were like, oh, we are fine, we're doing well here.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they went viral on viral everywhere. Like, this is, we are free. Finally, we can't pay that money anymore.
No, it's tough, man.
And then America decided to pardon everybody. Like, let's just forgive this. Well, but I feel like they'll bring it back. I think people.
I mean, I don't know the U.S. now, but I read the articles online, as you read too. It's just like, when I hear like $180,000 to go to school, to me that seems insane.
Especially in medicine, people go for even 300.
Oh yeah.
But like, okay, like a doctor's cool, because I don't know. I mean, they have the potential to get money down the road, but like, 180K to be like, get a BA degree in business, man. Like, I don't know. Like, that just seems kind of crazy.
That's crazy. It is crazy.
Like, learn to start a business or something. I don't know.
Brighton, I really appreciate the man that you are, man. I really appreciate that. Man. And this leads me to my question: is what happened with you Nigerians, you guys? I feel like the whole Africa should really, if not copying you, but they should just, learn from you. I don't care about what politics is doing, because I feel like politics is really a mess. In Nigeria. But I'm talking about the individuals, like the Nigerians. That you guys are really driven. It's so rare to find another African. There are. But it's so rare to find another African who come tell you like, I fought for these. I have to take, basketball so I can get a scholarship. Some of them just give up, like, forget about that. You can count a lot of them, but Nigerians are really driven, like internally driven, to reach their goals. I don't know what happens with these guys,
That's, I mean, I wish I had, I don't know. I wish I had it. Honestly, I wish I had an answer for that. It's a good, thanks is the first thing I would say, but I don't really have an answer. For me, I can only speak for me. I think part of it in life, and you guys probably know this, is environment plays a huge role in sort of your development. So I don't know, maybe it's just because we're in a country where there's so many people and you have to fight, like even like food, like with your siblings, you fight for your food. So I don't know, maybe like growing up, you just have that desire to want to like do better. But I don't have a really good answer other than to say, I think it's for me, I think part of it is just, I have a kid. I'm thinking for myself, I grew up in an environment in Canada I'm talking about now. I sort of had to have that like desire. I had to, because if I didn't, the alternative was I wasn't going to be where I am now with you guys. Like I just wasn't. The system wasn't set up for me to be successful, right? And on top of that, I'm a black kid, and usually until like my high school, I was usually the only black kid in the school. So all that environment, just you're constantly having to prove yourself every single time, every single day. And I think that's where you just create that desire and hunger comes from the environment that I find myself in. Why Nigerians are that? I don't know. Maybe we happen to.
What is it like? Is it that
I don't know.
you're talking about that the place where you grow up? Is there any secret that, you know, if you go to Nigeria, you can learn from? Because if you go to every area of life right now, in Africa, you'll find Nigerians and they're doing so good.
Really?
You know, it used to be Congo that would take over music in Africa.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that's the case anymore, you know. Nigerians are really...
Davido's doing pretty good, I heard.
not only him, we got Burna Boy, you know.
Burna Boy,
you know? If you talk about...
Burna Boy.
Good, yes.
Even on soccer, you know, you guys are not really like, you know, a team that everybody should play around with.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing well.
Doing bad
The movies, man. I feel like Africa,
movies
back in the days.
Movies is even
my goodness. Like,
do you think it's just, is there more investment in like Nigeria? You think I'm just in music now? I'm just like, is that why maybe more artists are being discovered Nigerian based, or?
But either they invest more or not. If the investment comes from the effort that somebody's even putting.
Yeah, they're putting their hunger to put in their work into whatever they do.
Right.
Which
I feel like
paying off.
The entire Africa should really learn from Nigerians.
Shout out to Ghana. Ghana's also there putting it up, you know.
Ghanaians are good, you know, they're kind of like Nigerians, but Nigeria is really, man, you can't catch Nigerians.
People used to, when I used to be back in, I lived in Uganda for a bit, and they used to organize this big event, and they would select a lot of Nigerian movies out there, so they would invite everybody to just come watch those movies. So I'm like, that's how big it was going around, because it had to be Nigerian movies, and the whole Africa was talking about that Nigerian movies. Everything was just about that. And the fact that they started with a very low quality, but they didn't care. It was still making an impact, you know? So that's kind of
a Nigerian gospel singer fill up the entire stadium in England. You know about that, right?
No, I didn't know about that. Man. No.
I will remember the name.
Wow.
The entire stadium in England.
Wow.
A Nigerian. Burna Boy, what is he not doing right now?
Burna Boy is that man is going up there, man. And he's just
I like his stuff too.
Yeah,
but I grew up. My dad grew up with Fela. Like that was my thing growing up.
Yeah,
like,
Fela was
like that's just. I still listen to. I have all his like LPs. Like just.
Oh yeah.
Man, that guy was like ahead of his time for
Of course, yeah.
It's crazy the lyrics, the stuff he says is still happening today, and he's like, oh, it's so frustrating listening to songs like it's still happening.
Yeah.
Like it's
Fela was really a musician.
Yeah, like just
not a joke.
Yeah, like just
Fela Kuti was a musician.
Yeah. So I don't have to your question. I honestly, I mean, it's a great compliment for Nigerians. I don't know what it is. I mean, if that's something that can help the content as a whole, I think that's a good point for all of us to sort of like, you know, try to help, you know, because I love that content, not just I love that content, but so frustration in me and just not understanding money, I just go like, this whole thing is built around resources and population and consumption, and go like, we have everything, but yet it's not adding up to being like this superpower. And I go, what is it? So just like you asking the question about what is it about Nigeria, I'm asking like, why can't we seem to do it when we have everything that this system is supposed to need to be a successful continent or superpower? So I don't know. Just like you, I don't know. I have ideas, like I'm sure you, but I don't know as a whole why the continent can't seem to get to that level that we think it should all be, right? So I don't know. Yeah,
I was reading about this Nigerian who passed away last time. He's a CEO. Okay. He's called his name is Herbert Wigwe. I don't know if you've heard about him.
No.
Oh man, the guy was a banker. He was creating banks.
Oh, okay.
It's in Nigeria, and he created a lot of banks in Nigeria. He's a billionaire.
Wow.
He died with his kid in a plane, and his wife.
Oh, that's
sad.
Like
in America.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a crash, like a helicopter that crashed. It's everywhere
Man,
on the
helicopters
news.
not having a good product. Like,
Yeah.
you got Kobe. Like,
That's
But-
not a good look.
Yeah.
Man.
What I mean is, rest in peace, Dr. Igwe. But what I mean is, him being Nigerian and being having all this knowledge about banking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's really, because if you go to my country right now,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put my country down, but
Right.
we don't have national banks anymore. There's no Congolese banks anymore. It's just like Nigerian banks, Ghanaian banks, Kenyans are even taking over,
Wow.
in Congo right now.
Right.
There's no Congolese bank. It doesn't exist anymore. So now you wonder, what's the point? What's the problem with all these things? But Nigerians are really like going everywhere. And slowly they're taking over. Even in South Africa,
And
they're
it's
taking
worldwide
over.
too. It's worldwide. It's not only staying in Nigeria, but it's going worldwide.
Go to the US, they are there.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Right.
Europe, everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
And they
the
don't
most
joke,
important
like they're really educated,
thing.
So that's what I...
Yeah, I mean, like, all it says is thank you. So, I don't have a good response.
Well, what
but-
we need to know, what the people needs to know though, is that Brighton is the CEO of Wealth Marathon. He wrote this book right here. If y'all can see it, I would definitely ask you where to find this book, where they can find this book, where they want to purchase it. But I didn't realize that you've been having experience of bank for decades, over decades. So I wanted to ask, is that where everything started, as you being involved with a lot of financial?
Yeah. It started with my family growing up in Canada. I just saw my parents were working really hard. They worked 2 jobs,
Wow.
and they weren't getting ahead. I saw my other friends' family, and I was like, man, they're going on vacation, they're having dinners. I'm like, what are my parents doing wrong? Like, clearly they work hard, you know. We're talking about Nigeria, and like their work ethic is there. So I was just like, what's going on? So like as a kid, I just went like, okay, like I don't want to have the same, I want to do better. I want to make sure
It's really good.
my thought process, like any kid was in me, is like, I'm going to do better so my parents' hard work pays off, right? That was my thought process. So I went into banking with that idea. And I just started going like, okay, like what are they missing that I can have? And which was, okay, like how does money work? My parents just were not, back then when we came here, Nigeria was a cash-based system. What I mean by that is people coming from Nigeria back when my parents came, we came in the 90s, they're used to paying for things in cash in Nigeria, right? But here is a credit system, right? So people get in trouble. My parents got in trouble because people that were teaching them about money would teach them how to use credit, like in terms of like buying stuff. They wouldn't teach them how to utilize credit to create wealth. So that's what really got my parents in trouble, is that they would say, get a credit card to pay this because it's great. Do this with this debt because it's great. But they wouldn't teach them like, how do you actually use credit to create wealth?
Yeah, that's true.
Right? They didn't want to teach them that. So my parents would get in trouble financially because they just didn't know. Right. So that's when, as a kid watching that experience, I went, okay, I got to learn what they didn't know. So then when I get to their age, I'm not making the same mistakes. So I went into finance with the idea of thinking I'm going to learn this stuff so I can get better. But then when I got into finance, I got frustrated because I realized, the other reason people get into problem is because the person who's sitting across from you, he has to feed his family and he has to sell you products to feed his and her family. So then sometimes the advice they're giving you isn't really what's best for you. Like sometimes you may go to like a financial advisor and all they need to do is talk you down. What I mean by that is like you may come to a financial advisor and go, hey, I want to get a credit card so I can go, for a vacation. And the job of that person should be talking to you on why that's not a good decision. But that person that's sitting in front of you, while that's a good information, they don't get compensated for that. Right? If I give you good advice, I don't get compensated for that, right? I only get compensated when I sell you something. So even if you come to me and you really don't need anything from me, I have to find a way to pitch a product into our conversation. So now you get someone who's like me, very good at talking, maybe charismatic. You can imagine how that can be dangerous to have someone like that who can then like, hey man, I think you should get that credit card. You deserve it. Go on that vacation. And you like feeling good. Like, I like this guy. He's talking my language. He's doing good. And you forget he's giving you terrible financial advice.
Wow.
Right? And that's why I got really tired of the financial space. But in going through that decade, I learned how to create wealth.
That's
I
what I'm saying,
learned because the bank actually has really good information. Like they send us on trips. We learn how to create wealth. It's just when it comes to sitting in front of you as like, you know, we have to sell you products. So yeah, that's how I kind of went into that.
That's really cool, man.
Wow.
I like how you take real step. And how long did it take you the process of going through this book?
To write the book,
if I may ask.
yeah, like the process to write the book. This book kind of came out of. It was kind of funny because I just started writing like on my phone, and then I just like I would like learn how mortgages work, and I would just take notes and I'll write it, and then after like a couple of months, I realized I had like a lot of stuff, so I was like, I guess I should put it into a book. So then I just started going through the process, and then I wasn't really aiming to do the book because it wasn't my intention to do a book. It was just I was writing all this information because friends would ask me all these questions. I just thought, let me see if I can do it. And then before I realized that the book was there, and I decided, well, I guess let me go through. I actually didn't want to publish this book because I'm kind of a private person.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm private in the sense of like, so this whole social media world, like I'm not into it. I'll be upfront with you. But I felt like it was really important because I also had this question we all have, which is I felt like, was I being fearful because I didn't want to push myself? Or was I,
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I published the book is I asked myself, like at 60, are you going to be more disappointed you published the book or you didn't? And I thought, I'd be really disappointed if I did. Because I don't want to look back when I'm 60 going, bro, like you just have to publish. Yeah, you just have to publish
Exactly.
it. Like,
No, this is great, man. Like just the presentation looks amazing. You
Thanks,
know?
man. I appreciate that.
It really caught my eye, and
I appreciate it.
just everything. And I'm just wondering, so it's basically covered from the mortgage and how to handle a house.
Yeah, I know we're in BC, so I know it's tough nowadays to buy mortgage.
Oh boy, when you talk about that,
we can get into that if you guys want. But
Are they even still giving mortgage to?
oh yeah, there's mortgage.
It's
I was
so
talking
crazy
to
down here.
We were just having conversation off camera about this. We're a staffer right now. I was just saying, yeah, like, you know, when I work with younger people, you know, I'm 35, but when I work with younger people, it's pretty much nowadays is like no one talks about it, but really, if someone's younger like me, like sub 40 comes to me, they want to get a mortgage. If they don't have their parents involved, it's pretty much not going to happen in BC. Like it's not happening because what happens is the parents have to give the kid the equity, the down payment that is, right, to be able to buy the home. And your staff and I were having that conversation, how that creates inequality long term, because think about a kid like myself, right? Like my parents came down, they didn't have the home. So if I wasn't able to be smart enough early on to get into the home, how would I get into the housing market? I wouldn't. Now my generation is further behind than my peers' generation, and that cycle just continues, right? Until someone can break in. So I think today, nowadays, realistically, if you're buying a home as a young person, you need your parents involved, unfortunately.
Okay.
Or you go to a cheap market. Like Alberta is a really great market. The Maritimes is still a really good affordable market where if you get a good job, you can still buy a home and not go broke. It's just BC and Ontario, those markets are really difficult to crack. Or in BC, actually, I had a young couple, what was it? Port Alberni. You can still buy homes for like $300K, but it's Port Alberni. So there's plus you can buy a home in BC. It's just, do you want to live there? You know, so, but in Vancouver, definitely, I would say for most young people, it's definitely out of reach. Just because it's so much down payment you have to come up with. And even if they have a really good job, they still can't qualify. So, and most of us, do you really want to be spending 60% of your income to put a roof over your head? Probably not. You know, you want to do other things. You want to travel. You want to spend time with your family. Like, you don't want to just be paying a mortgage, right? So,
wow.
Yeah.
Before we start diving deeper into our topic, I see that the book, it says what the bank won't let you know about buying the right home, right? Are you one of those people who advise people to, you know, be careful with banks? Don't use banks. You know, like me, I grew up from places where they say, you know, don't just try banks anymore. You know, keep your money in your pocket or whatever, do whatever you want. Just don't give to the bank because they're not worth it.
Don't keep your money in your pocket because oh boy, it's gonna get stolen.
By who?
You have to.
Yeah. No, you're what you're saying is, I think it's a trust thing, right? It's what happens. Like I said earlier, is like when I went into the bank, I thought the advisor's role was helping you in front of me, giving you the best advice that I thought was for your situation, right? When I went into bank and I realized that's not always the case because like I said, every day I have these meetings where I have to sell something and that's how I get compensated, right? As an advisor. So if I'm not selling you something and all I'm doing is giving you really great advice, I'm going to get fired. And if you talk to a lot of people who have financial advisors nowadays, that's why your advisor always changes every year because people just they either get sick of it, they can't do it. So every year you have a new financial advisor that comes to your bank, you know, because they can't keep doing that. And the good people like myself, we have to make a decision. And like, do I want to keep doing this or do I not want to do this? And yeah, if you're an older established advisor, you probably have enough of a book that you can run your business the way you want to run it. But for young people like myself who are coming in the system, the only way to do that is to load up people in debt to build up my book, right? And then I have to make that decision, which is, like I said, I always think about my parents. I go, I can't do that because I had parents who got that bad advice. So for me, it's really difficult morally for me to do that. So the trust thing about the bank, banks are nothing more than a tool, just like money is nothing more than a tool. What you have to be careful with banks is that, yes, you should go to a bank because in terms of storing your money and all that, great, no problem with that, right? But the bank isn't the reason you're going to become wealthy, right? So that trust aspect of it is where you need to educate yourself and get someone. And you could have someone at the bank like that who is very educated, knows how to create wealth. But what I find is a lot of people at the bank, they're good at selling products because that's really what they're there for. They're salespeople disguised as financial advisor most of the time. But there are some people and individuals in there that are in there for the right reasons and actually want to help you create wealth, right? And they know how to do that, right? So I was actually like, you know, think about it. Like, when's the last time you asked your financial advisor what their net worth was? You don't. As someone who goes to the bank, you don't even think about it. You just go and take their advice. When's the last time you asked your financial advisor, like, hey, how much credit card debt do you have? You don't. You just assume this person knows what they're doing and they're giving the right advice. But you got to be transparent, right? It's like the whole idea, what is it like? If you're going to learn something from someone, you should learn from someone who's done it well, right? Exactly. And that's what I'm saying with financial advisor. Don't just accept the bank's financial advisor, but really get to know that person, get to find out that they know what they're talking about. Do they understand how to create wealth? Are they giving the right advice? And then you can use them to help you get to your goal. So I wouldn't say my broad answer is like, no, the banks are not bad, but the banks are more or less just a tool to whatever you're doing. Like, and that's what I use them for. Like, I haven't stepped into a bank forever, but I'm different. But my wife also doesn't deal with the banks, but she just doesn't deal with banks. She deals with me. But a lot of young people, or people in general, I think we just don't go to the bank. So I think what you need to do is really find someone that can help you and talk to you and give you good information and you trust. I think like banking now is sort of like find a good counselor, find someone that you can trust, and then they can help you through different money situations that you're going through, right? That's really all they should be.
My goodness.
Okay. But don't you think like most of the time when we trust people, somehow these people take advantage of that trust?
Absolutely.
You know, because, you know, me trusting you, that's okay. But you being really like, you know, faithful to the trust that I'm giving to you, that's another story, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Because you can trust me. I've worked with, in retail stores.
Yeah.
And then the moment you begin your day, they're already setting a goal for the store, right?
Yeah, it's true.
That is true. It's funny.
There's a goal for the store.
It's 100% true, bro.
Yeah.
There's a goal for the store. It's just like as we have a studio here.
Yeah.
We have our goals. We gotta reach this number of people. We gotta make sure everybody that comes in here, they buy something.
Yeah.
So they will tell you like all the rules.
Yeah.
Now, how much can you be faithful to the people if you already have all these things behind you? You know, and you got cameras everywhere and everything. So in that case, do we need to work with financial advisors who are detached from the bank itself, or those ones who are already working with the bank? Because if you are already working with the bank, you are following the rule of the bank. Otherwise, you got fired, right? you get fired. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think the way I would say for those of you looking for someone to work with is to ask how they get compensated, and then make sure that compensation lines up with your interests, short and long term. So what I mean by that is, if you go to a financial advisor, we're talking about the bank, do you actually know how this person makes money? Like, how do they get compensated? So most financial advisors that you work with at the bank, they're going to probably work on a salary. So they have their base salary, but then they also get bonus based on how much, mutual fund they sell you, or, mortgages, whatever it is, right? There's nothing wrong with people making money as long as the service matches up with your long-term interest, right? Like, if I charge you a fee to come talk to me about money, but I can also deliver on that fee by ensuring that, let's say, you pay whatever, let's put a number, $200, whatever, to come talk to me about money. But that $200 translates into you being able to save an extra $400 for, okay, that's worth paying me $200 because that makes sense. Now, the next thing you have to ask is, okay, if he's getting $200, is the structure he has set up beneficial for me long term? Or is it just like a one hit where he can make money and then it doesn't matter what the consequences are for me over the long term? And a lot of times with banking, that's the problem. Someone can give you the product and it sounds good in the moment, but then 20 years from now, you realize that was a bad information. I shouldn't have done that actually, right? So always ask yourself, how does this person make money? Okay. And does the way they make money, does this serve both my long-term and my short-term interest? What I mean is that if the financial advisor gives me bad advice today, are they going to be punished over the long term, right, for that advice? Or can they give me bad advice today and I get punished, but they don't have to get punished? That's not a good structure. You want those two things together. And then for certain products like investments, right? I think back in BC, we used to have, for mortgage brokers, they used to call what they call fiduciary. What that essentially just means is that the person working with your money has to keep your long-term interest. Thanks, man. Has to keep your long-term interest at heart. And that makes sense because that's what most of us think when we go into the bank, is that you're going to do the best thing for me for both my short and my long term. So it's really important that when you work with someone, always ask yourself that, is the way this person makes money both serving my long and my long-term interest? And if it's not, then you want to question that, right? And then make sure it's transparent, right? That's the other thing with the banks, right? Like, they're not transparent. They say like it's free advice. It's not free advice, right? If I come to you, nothing, like, just in life, nothing is free. So the most transparent thing for someone, like, when you come to my website, right? Like, the reason I set up my structure is very transparent, right? You can work with me on a 1-year program and there's the fee. That's all I make off you. So obviously, if in the 1-year process, the way I'm thinking about it, if I was you, I'm probably not going to bring you as a client if there's no way that I can justify that at the end of the 1 year, I can show you that, hey, either I've increased your net worth way more than what you started with, or we've reduced your debt, or we found somewhere to justify that $1,200 you paid me, you've actually made more money than that over that year. If I can't do that, I'm not going to bring you on as a client because there's no benefit there for me. The other way I have is you can just sign up for courses. If you just want to learn something, that's straight fee. You pay for the course. That's it. There's no long-term, that's a cost, right? So it's about setting transparent cost structures and then you asking those questions to make sure that you know how the person that's giving the advice is compensated. And then the problem I have nowadays too, like with the social media, is like, I just coming here, I was reading something from Warren Buffett, and he said like, he was talking about like social media financial advisors nowadays, right? And it's just like, and I've said this many times, guys, like, think about this. If someone knew how to make $1 million for you, why are they charging you only $500 to show you how to make $1 million? Like, it sounds obvious when I say it out loud, but that's what we're doing on social media, is we're listening to all these people guaranteeing they can make money and only charging us a small fee.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes they even do it for free.
For free?
For free, yes. Just sign up for the course.
It's really for free.
Yeah.
Wait, Brighton.
Yo, there is so many of these, bro.
And this is my day.
There is crazy people, man.
There's a saying in politics that says, naturally, humans enjoy deception.
Okay.
To the point that the deceiver will never run out of victims, right?
That's
Because
true.
naturally, you already enjoy deception.
Yes.
You know, if you see all the marriages that didn't survive, somehow they will say, I was lied upon, you know. All the people who ran out from churches, they will tell you like, oh no, bro, that you know, whatever is happening there is lies. All the people who got fired, or maybe either you were fired or you left the work yourself, somehow you feel like there was something that I never understood before.
Right.
So now it also happens to these advisors. Most of the time, here's one thing that they tell you.
Yeah.
You are not paying me. This is what I hear every time.
Who say you're not paying? The people who are asking for advice?
You know, for all the years I've lived on this planet, I came across a lot of advisors,
You're not paying me.
Financial advisors. They will never tell you one, because they know the moment they say, "Oh, you are going to pay this much for this," you too are going to run out from them. Because we don't like hearing about money.
Yes.
Now the narrative that they're pushing into you is saying, "You are not gonna pay me anything."
Yes.
I'm cool with that. Once we hear it's free, cool, that's okay.
Yes.
And then what always caught my attention is seeing somebody paying his own transport to come to my house for free and helping me. You know, they will double sessions. You know, if I didn't understand today, they'll like, "Well, I'll come again next time so you can understand." And that always pushed me because you know. Maybe that me, but somebody else won't understand these things.
Yes.
But that always pushed me to ask myself questions like, why, you know? Why, if they are doing it for free, they are helping me. They should be the first one to say, bro, you know, you're not getting this, you know, just forget about this. But they will push you to the point that you accept. So I want to know what's going on with this. How do we detect if this is really deception or, you know?
That's, you know what, like that's so true, because that quote that you gave, honestly, is true, because we're so, as human beings, we love to be deceived, and then we cry foul the minute it happens, you know. You know, but when you say it like that, though, I think what people were listening to is like, listen to how you just described that. It's like there's alarms, like why is someone, like you said again, coming here wanting to do all this stuff and they're not being compensated? For free.
For free.
And it's like no one works for free. So the most honest thing, I think I would say what I said earlier, the most honest thing someone can do is tell you their cost, how they get compensated right off the bat, and be transparent with that. And then you asking the person, how do you get compensated? So let's talk about mortgage broker, because I'm a mortgage broker. How a mortgage broker gets compensated is that when a mortgage broker brings you the client, when I bring a client to the bank, the bank pays me a fee for the mortgage that they give you. So in essence, I'm getting the commission from the bank, right? The bank is the one paying me the fee, right? You don't pay a fee, though you can make the argument that, okay, if the bank has to pay me, then they're probably putting in the fee somewhere, right? So my point is that there's no free lunch. But in that case, that's how a mortgage broker makes money, right? Now, if someone works at the bank and they're not a mortgage broker, they also get compensated, right? They usually have a base salary, or they're going to get a bonus when they bring the mortgage, or if they do like a certain amount of mortgage per year, right? So it's about being transparent, and us as consumers asking questions. And when it doesn't sound right, remember, you're probably going to want to get conned because it sounds great to get some for free, right? But not everything free is worthwhile for you to sign up for, especially in the world we live in today, where, you know, like it's you know, this is a challenge for me because I know how psychologically we think. So this is a real challenge for me in my business, because I try to be very transparent with that by putting the fee and trying to condition people, like, you need to get in the habit to train your mind to assess what's worth paying for, and then paying for those things. But we live in a society now where everyone expects everything to be free, which is making it a lot easier now to target people, because they just think it's free. So if you can create a good enough, you know, emotional connection or whatever it is, right? Or you're charismatic, or you have that thing that people don't know why you know, like a Barack Obama. I don't know why. I just like to listen to the guy. Like,
Yeah.
he could be spilling gibberish, be like, that sounds good. That
Yeah,
sounds really good.
Yeah. It's sweet.
Yeah,
It
you know,
gets you good.
yeah, but yet he can making a big fee on me. You know, I don't know. So I think the thing you point out is what I would say to people is like, nothing is free in this world. We all know that. So if someone's offering something for free, you should pause and ask the person, how do you make money? Like, how do you provide for your family? And then understand, like, people have to make money. They have to provide. But what most good business people try to do is make sure that it's done in a transparent and authentic way where you know how that works. And it's not some sleazy thing behind the scenes where you're not sure how that works. Like, for example, going to your point, at the bank, we have mutual funds that have like deferred sales charges, which I'm not getting into. But essentially, they say the mutual fund up front, it sounds like it's free, but then they charge fees down the road, like year 3, 4, or 5, right? So they keep making money off you, like trailers off you, when you don't even understand what's happening. So transparency, don't be afraid to ask questions. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true, especially with money. If it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So like, just think about it. If someone really knows how to guarantee to make you $1 million, even $1,000, why are they charging you only $50? If I knew I could make you $1 million, I would not be charging you $1 million, because I'm guaranteed I can make you $1 million. I'd be charging you probably $5 million, because you'd be happy with $1 million.
For sure.
Right? So that's just how it is.
That's a big money. That's a big amount of money. I want to talk more about the mortgage.
Yeah.
And because most people they like to discuss about this thing before they even get into that situation, because you have to know when's the right time, and where is the right time. You know, where do you think is a good time to, and a good way to start if you want to start buying, if you want to start getting into that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the best place to start is just get educated. When I bought my first home, because I worked at the bank, the reason I did it so well is I would talk to people who own homes, because I was an advisor, right? So I would just talk to them. And that was super helpful, because one of the things about buying a home is that, and with money, we're emotional creatures. So if you can get us to be emotional, and you guys know with music, if you can get people to be in tune with the emotion, their rationality goes out the window. It's the same thing with money. So what I talk to people about money a lot of times is I try to get them to be unemotional with it, and just be like, stop. Like,
oh, that's good. That's good. That is really good.
That's really good.
Yeah, because if I can get you to just see it for what it is, rather than you trying to imagine what you think it is, you can try to be how the system works. It rewards people who can see money for what it is, which is 1 + 1 is always going to be 2. Always. But I can convince you with money that 1 + 1 can be 3. And that's exciting, right? Because it defines logic. So you shouldn't get excited about it. So I think when it comes to buying a home, what's really critical for you is get educated first. So for me, I was talking to homeowners, and they would tell me all this stuff about like, hey man, like, it's not just the mortgage payment. You got like the property taxes. Exactly. Then it's like, you got like, then your kid comes along. You don't have money to care of the kid, because now you got to pay for the home. They were telling me like, this wasn't just about like buying a home. They were telling me like, hey, it sounds good on TV and whatever it is, but there's more to it than that. And then I also talk to investors, like people who are buying like investment properties, and they give me a different lens on real estate. I was like, well, you can make money. Like, yeah, like the best way to do it is like actually use money, other people's money, you just buy more money. I was like, what? You can do that? So I didn't know all this stuff, because I was an immigrant kid. I wanted the white picket fence. I wanted to just buy a home because my parents weren't able to buy a home. That's the emotional attachment I had. And we grew up renting. So, I hated when people you said people you rented look down on you like you're an idiot or something like that. For real. I had those emotional drivers in me, and that's why I wanted to buy a home. Now, when I talk to people, and it's funny because my girlfriend, she grew up in a home at the time. Like, she grew up in a home, so she had a home. She was less emotional about it. I was like, I got to get a home. I got to get like a big home, make my parents proud, or whatever it is. But as I went through the process and started talking to these people, I started to realize this is a huge investment. And I started to realize, like, wait a minute, like, people are talking about like they had to put up credit card to take their family on trips, to pay for their kids' education, and they were attributing that all back to home ownership. So it wasn't that homeownership was a bad thing. They would just tell me like, hey man, make sure you get all the facts before you jump into this thing.
Exactly.
So the best thing I would say is like, get to a place to learn. Obviously, I'm going to plug here. The book would be great for you to start with. Like, pick up the book. It's on Amazon. So you can pick up the book.
You got to get into that.
Yeah, you can pick up the book there. But more importantly, work with someone or talk to people who have been homeowners that can be honest with you about their experience, because a lot of times people will just say a lot of positive things to reinforce their bad decision so people don't know it was a bad decision. So like when people talk about money, I can tell you like where real estate is a really good asset class, but I can also be transparent to you and tell you like not everyone needs to buy a home. And I'm a mortgage broker, right? The reason I started my business so I can be transparent with you. I don't need to push you one way or the other. I think it's a great asset for you to own, but I can also understand why it may not be a good asset for you to own, right? So you need to get to a place where someone can have that honest conversation based on your specific situation and figure out the game plan on if you want to buy a home, they can help you do it the right way. And if you're trying to decide if you want to buy a home or you want to do something else, they can also help you do that. Transparency and just finding someone that can be honest with you about, which it's very hard to do nowadays, right? Everyone's pitching something, right?
You let me speechless, man.
Okay. Can we switch again?
No, because like that's a good point you mentioned. There is like not everybody needs to buy a home, you know. But I feel like the peer pressure, you know what I'm saying? Like some people go with it based on the peer pressure. Like,
Definitely.
Some families do be like, oh, you know, I see the guy, he got the house, man. I need to get the house. You know what I'm saying? I need to push him to get the house, and then they make that mistake of not being ready.
Yeah.
But then just go ahead and go with it just because you want to feel like, okay, I did something great in life, and then I start struggling later on.
Exactly.
To go through the mortgage and pay it off, all that stuff, right? And it becomes really hard, and that's why I wanted to ask you financially.
Yes.
How ready do you have to be to go through that?
To buy a home?
Buy a home and afford a mortgage and
I think it's changed too. Like I know like when that sentiment you said is how I felt too, is like, you know, it's like you know, you go through life, you know, you graduate, you get your degree, then you marry the girl, then you have the kids and you buy the house. You know, like there's certain things you're supposed to do, right? So I think we're all getting to that. And what you're bringing up is really taking a step back and going, do I have to do this?
I mean, it would be cool to buy a house, but you mentioned a very important thing, man. You gotta be ready for it. If you want, that's your goal of buying a house, you have to be ready for it.
Yeah, and you gotta know the total cost, I think, is where people get confused and why that experience, because you may want to do something. It's like having a kid. You know, people don't know, like, you know, you see kid or parents posting pictures of their kids on Instagram. Well, you don't understand. It took probably like 30, 40 pictures for them to get that one picture, right? But the kid ran their line. But like, so homeownership can be that way. It doesn't mean having a kid is not enjoy. It's a wonderful experience, but if you don't fully understand what you're getting into and open your eyes as much as possible, you may find yourself hating that experience, even though it's a very enjoyable thing, right? It's the same thing with homeownership, I think. A lot of times people just don't know the total cost of owning a home. They think, I just got to afford the mortgage payment. Then it's like, cool, but then you have property taxes. Then you have insurance, right? Then you have to figure out like water bill, you know, and then if the house breaks down, it's your responsibility, not the bank's responsibility, it's your responsibility. So when you add all those costs up, a lot of times people go, okay, I can afford the home because I can afford the mortgage payment. And clearly it's about the same cost as my rent payment. Incorrect, but they do that analysis.
Yeah, 100% though.
Yeah, and then they get the home, they start living there, and now they realize, property tax keeps going up every time my value goes up. Insurance keeps going up. The water bill keeps going up. The hydro keeps going up. And then before they realize it now, that mortgage payment they were expecting is like double. And now they're going, but I still want to travel. I'm still going to have a kid. I still want to save for retirement. So it's just understanding the complete cost of owning a home.
Yeah.
Homeownership isn't a bad thing. The way people make money in this world is three ways. They create a business to create income, they buy real estate to create income, or they invest in the stock market to create income. Real estate is one of those asset classes. So it's a good asset class. It's just, do you understand the full cost to make sure you don't get yourself in trouble, where then you have to sell the home because you can't afford it, or it's not a good experience for you because I can't do anything other than just pay my mortgage payment, right? So it's about just understanding the complete cost, and that's what I try to do when people come to me is like, do you know this? Do you know that? Like, don't go into this like the rosy eye and think it's going to be all great. It is going to be great if you understand the complete cost and you're prepared for it and you want to take that on. It'll be an enjoyable experience, and you get to be able to create capital, long-term appreciation for yourself and for your family, right? So I'm never going to knock on it. I just knock on the idea when people just continuously push people to do it when they're not ready to do it. Facts. Or they don't know the full facts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But also, like, I want to, get away from the mortgage a little bit and talk about the debt from having the debt. Was obviously we in Canada, we got debt. We got debt.
A lot of debt in Canada.
A lot of people have debt here.
Bad credits. Bad credits.
Yeah.
Man, because these issues, man, they just it scares people, man. You get scared. You don't know how to solve it. You don't know how to solve it.
Of course.
And once you're in, it's so hard to get out.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like maybe the bank doesn't want you to get out.
They don't.
Because you keep fighting, but then keep fighting you back. I wanted to ask you, what's your advice you could give to, people who are running in debt? How can they maintain their financial to just be able to start decreasing and getting on track of decreasing their debt?
Yeah.
What's your advice you could give to people?
I mean, like, this is a broad, like, I don't know, broadly speaking, like, are you talking about like how to pay down the debt? Or
pay down. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pay down, especially the credit card debt and on stuff like that.
Yeah, credit card debt is hard. The way to think about like credit card debt is like reverse compounding, like if you're not familiar, like compounding just is the idea that you make money on interest. Like that's why you invest, right? Because when you invest, your investment creates like, additional income, and then now you can compound on that interest. So same thing for credit cards. The bank just figured out like, hey, if you can give people credit cards, they're probably going to use it, and then they probably won't be able to pay it off in time, and then we can earn interest on the balance. So for paying off credit card, this is just broad advice, is figure out the debt that has the highest interest rate, and then just kind of start there. They call it like the snowball effect. You just start small to get yourself little victories, right? Because when you're trying to tackle a debt, especially if you have a lot of debt, it can just overwhelm you because just like, I'm never going to be able to pay down this debt. Like it's never going to work. So just start with the highest credit card debt. Like by that, I mean like high interest rate, the one that you have the highest, and just start hammering at that one as best as you can. Or the other way I also advise people, some people have certain debts that it causes so much emotional stress on them that we may work on a strategy and be like, okay, let's just tackle that because this seems to just like, for whatever reason, it ruins your day. Let's get rid of that for you. That's really what you're concerned about. But the best way to tackle a debt is, start with the one that's the highest interest earning, and then pay that one down, and then just kind of work your way down the debt list. And start with small victories. Like you want to start with small victories because we're human beings. Get little victories, set up a budget, and just keep paying it, and know over time that it will get paid down eventually. There's more sophisticated strategies we can use, but I'm not going to get into that here because it just will overwhelm you. But at the broad level, find the highest credit card you have and start paying that one down, and then work to the next credit card itself.
But so now that leads me to one question, because most people, you find yourself where there's scammers. We know those scammers, and when you get scammed, you're in it. I'm always very curious, does a bank handle that situation once you get scammed? Because is it on you to fish up, or can you solve it?
I think if you let them know that you've been scammed, that they try their best to help, right?
Yeah, I think so. The way is like, so there's what we have, I think there was a big, remember that big bank, I'm forgetting off the top of my head, in the US that had where they went bankrupt and they had a big bank run. So we have like deposit insurance here in Canada that covers some of your money, like when you have in the bank. So if a bank for whatever reason goes like bankrupt, you have some coverage. If you're talking about scamming, let's say, those text messages we all get nowadays, like you need to go on your account and whatever. Generally, you're on your own when that happens.
Oh boy, that's
generally, I would say generally you're on. You can reach out to your bank. You can report like, hey, someone tried to scam me. But generally, the idea is that if someone gets access to your account, the bank kind of goes, hey, man, you kind of let someone get into your account. That's on you, right?
You're on yourself. Right?
Yeah, which is different from like if you have a credit card and you have fraud, though, that's different. They will cover that.
They cover.
They will, yeah, they will.
Okay.
They will call if you call your credit card company and say, hey, there's an unauthorized purchase that's happened here. They will investigate it, and if they found it, they will, clear that balance. Zero liability in that part for the credit card.
Do you happen to know how long the process before you?
I just did one a few months ago because I had some random, I can't remember what. So people from Quebec always try to get into my credit cards. So I don't know what it is. Like, no, I'm not. I don't want to. We love all of Canada. I'm not saying Quebec. I'm just saying they always seem to be from Quebec for some reason.
Come on, man.
Before we get messages from Quebec.
Yeah, please. We don't.
De quoi est-ce qu'il est en train de parler là-bas?
We are not in any way. Scams happens all throughout Canada. Okay, we just want to be clear about that. But no, so what I do, you just call your credit card company, and then they investigate it, and then usually, I think my case with Scotiabank, it took like maybe a week, and then they just retracted the transaction. Oh, actually, what happened? I bought a hosting service, and then the company wasn't fulfilling the hosting. It turned out they went bankrupt. So then I was like, whoa, you guys were already bankrupt and you let my credit card go through. So like, yeah, give me back my money. So Scotiabank did the investigation. They found out that, there was no service being provided. And then they just retracted that transaction. So for credit cards, it's a lot easier. But if the money comes out of your personal like checking account, that's tough because now, you have to reach out to your bank and hopefully they listen to your story. But most of the time I find, the stories that I've seen, they kind of go.
But what's easier to steal from between bank card and credit card? Because banks most of the time they have a limit.
Oh, you mean like just taking cash out? Yeah.
Cash out,
Cash.
Because credit card they can just take whatever is in there.
I think that's why the bank, and I don't know. I think that's why the bank is like they're not gonna help you if someone takes money out of your account.
Exactly.
Because they would have to get access to it. Like they have to have your debit card. They have to have your PIN card. Whereas your credit card is online, someone could take it, someone could swipe it. Like there's, the only thing I heard that also though if you get if you try to claim a fraudulent for your credit card, if you try to create like fraud, but you have a PIN, but the transaction was done with your PIN, they may not actually refund that because they go, hey, you gave your PIN to someone, right? How does someone know your PIN? So just be mindful of that too. But I find credit cards, it's super easy. If you catch it, call the bank, let them know, hey, they have a fraud department. This is a fraudulent transaction. And if it's fraud, usually they'll issue, like in my case, they issued me a new credit card with new credit card numbers.
Really?
So just so it won't happen again if they try to put it through. And then
that's interesting.
But if it's like your personal checking account, I think that's tough because they're like, yo, like you click the link, you give them access, like
that's on you.
Now you want us,
that's on you, bro.
You gotta figure that out. So the bank account one is a lot tougher to get refund, I would say.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean you should still reach out to your bank to see if they can help you out. I find that that's tougher for them to give you a refund.
But even with the credit card, is there a limit where you have to report it, or if you
any limit? Like anytime you think there's any fraud, any fraud that you think, whether it's $1, $2, if it's especially what will happen a lot of times I've noticed now is they'll do like a small transaction like $1, and the reason they do that is they hope that you don't notice it, right? And then next month they'll do like $2, and then one time you won't notice and they'll do like $500. So just always check your credit card. Like I'm in a habit where I encourage people, like now we all have online. So just check your credit card statement. Just make sure the transactions make sense. And if you see something that you're like, what is that? I didn't put that through. Call your bank right away. Let them know so they can do an investigation. I think there's usually a time frame though, like maybe within, I don't know, 30 days or something like that. But just, call your bank whenever you notice there's a fraudulent transaction. Earlier the better.
That's good. I have a... concerning debt, just if you can give hope to those who are not able to pay debt at all. You get to the point where you are sent to collection.
Right.
I love the one they love sending us to collection, which is cool, right? So I just want to know, do they get to the point that, well, this is just over, there's nothing you can do? They take it back to zero? You know,
Yeah,
I've heard about some 7 years or few years.
Yeah. Well,
Does it get to that
bankruptcy.
point?
That sounds like bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get into bankruptcy, that's a whole different thing. There's people you should speak to about that.
Who claim bankruptcy between you and the collection bureau?
Well, when you claim bankruptcy, you're essentially saying that you don't have the capacity to pay these debts, and that's it. Like you're not gonna be. So they lose money. Everyone loses money because you're not gonna pay them.
Does that affect you? Obviously affects
Oh
you.
yeah, I think it says. If I recall my history, you're gonna have that. Like your bankruptcy record will stay on file for 7 years in your credit profile. So it's gonna be pretty difficult for you to get anything because a lot of lenders, when they see bankruptcy, they're just gonna go, no, we're not interested. So you're gonna have to rebuild your credit, and that's gonna stay on your credit profile for about 7 years. Now I have to double check, but I think when I was at the bank, it was 7 years. It was still on your record. The other one you have is consumer proposal. Consumer proposal is sort of like you going to your debtors and saying, hey, Brian, I can't pay you the 20K, but would you agree to take 10K? And if they agree to that, then you work 10K. They lose. Because keep in mind, at the end of the day, guys, like keep in mind, when someone gives you a loan, at the end of the day, they don't really want to lose. It's better for them to get something than nothing, right? So that's always why, you know, when you go to credit counseling, they always like, they'll talk to them because the question is, if I know Brighton can only pay you $100, would you rather take the $100 he has or take nothing when he files for bankruptcy? So if you're in a really dire situation where you're really struggling, you can't pay these debts, call the creditor and let them know like, hey, can we structure something? Because it's much better for you to get something than to get nothing. And most creditors are going to entertain that if you're sincere about it. They're going to push hard. They're not going to accept it on first whatever. They're going to like push. But if you come to them with a reasonable proposal and say, hey, look, if you can restructure my debt and I owe 20K, but if you can do it for 15K, I can get this paid off in like 5 years. They may go for that and say, we'll do it a monthly $100. But most people don't know they can do that. So they never reach out. They never even ask that question. They just sit with the debt and keep struggling until it gets to a point where then they file bankruptcy or consumer proposal or something like that, right? So if you have a ton of debt, reach out to those individuals, debtors, creditors, and give them a solution or a plan that you think you can meet for them to then sign off on it.
That's a good one.
Right? So it's possible because that's what credit counselors do, right? Is they reach out to all the creditors or debt counseling, whatever you do, and they just say, can we make a plan where he can pay this off? And then they take a loss sometimes in the debt.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, Brighton has for once again for everybody who haven't had a chance to hear that the book is on Amazon. You can get it out there. It's called Master Your Mortgage by Brighton GBARAZIA. I got that straight up, man. I got that straight up. But the book is on Amazon. Made you know exactly I got it right, man. The book is on Amazon. You can get it. There's a lot of more information. But I wanted to give you a chance to just give us a little topic of what does the book cover? What is there that the book says? What do people have to look more into it? And give us a little juice about that.
Sure, yeah. The book is great if you're looking to buy a home in Canada. So essentially what I do is I go through the entire process. So we talked earlier about like knowing all the costs associated with buying a home. So I break down what those costs are. In addition to that, I also go through how the bank actually goes through your mortgage application. So like when you submit your application, what is it they look for? What kind of income? How do they qualify your income? And there's certain ratios that the banks need you to hit. GDS and TDS, I give you those numbers. I show you how to calculate them. So you know if you're going to qualify or you're not going to qualify. And then at the end of the book, because I didn't want to make the book just be about finance, the third part of the book is about like financial advice. It's like my coaching. So I talk about principles that I think are really important when it comes to finance to end off the book. So yeah, in the book, you're going to learn pretty much everything you need to learn about the Canadian mortgage process, like how to buy a home. But then you're going to get a little bit of financial topic as well at the end of the book, just to kind of round it out. So it's not just a mortgage book, but yeah.
Man, you see that?
Yeah. I have some few questions.
No, there you go. I do help.
I told you it's my day today.
Go for it.
I respect them more than anything, man.
I gotta clear.
Switch your camera, please.
I gotta clear some stuff here.
Yeah.
Do you also do insurance and like there's insurance info? Are they investment too? Like insurance where you have to be paying
Like you talking like life insurance or
Life
something?
insurances, things like that.
No, I don't do life insurance.
Why don't you do that? It's just because it's not your expertise, or
Not my
you
expertise.
feel like it's more.
Oh no, I like insurance. I did insurance for work, but not selling insurance to people, but like insurance for companies. No, it's just not. I like to stick with finance. So what I try to do is stick with areas that I'm really good at and I know the information. I don't know insurance, so I would probably send you someone who knows insurance very well.
Yeah. So if
I can speak about insurance in general, like I have life insurance, protection on my ass and stuff like. But I'm not someone who will sell you an insurance product.
Okay. But would you advise somebody to have a life insurance?
Yeah, depends where you are. If you're like 20, no, because you got nothing to protect. You probably have no money, so there's no point getting insurance there. But for me, yes, you should get insurance once you start getting.
It looks like you don't have it. That's beautiful.
You should get it.
I think we're getting free. Eh? This is very important. It's always good to meet people like you. Honest people. There's one thing that I've realized with I have a lot of friends who are doing insurance. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a job. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's gonna make a living.
We spoke about today. We spoke about most of these ways of bringing you closer. Like how they attract you and then they catch you, right? So they come with so much information.
Sounds like this guy. He has a lot of experience when it comes to money.
That's why he's glad you're here, man. You're honest guy. Good ass.
Everybody. So there's one thing that I've realized about most insurance advisors.
Okay.
When they come to you, they come with a lot of sweet advices. Now, what I've realized, most of the time when they're from your community, like if they are, African, you realize that there is another person that's behind them that they might maybe call. We can come over.
Wow. Carry on, Reggie.
There's another man behind them that they call their mentor. Right?
Okay.
But the whole point is about that guy.
Okay, so
maybe they have 10% of the information,
right?
And this guy have the rest of the information. And sometimes even what they have and what this guy have can even get into conflict. And the guy will come as if he's coming to correct. That thing always sidetrack me. It's just like throwing me away because I don't understand. If you want to come to me,
you should deal with me directly.
You should deal with me directly.
That's what you said to the beginning.
And I even once asked one of them, like, how do you get paid? Are you gonna get out of the picture once we done this? Once I sign up, are you gonna get out of the picture and then I'll deal with the bank? Or you gonna be there forever? And he was like, bro, as long as you're gonna be there, I'll be there too. My name is over there. Then I'm like, oh, so I'll be paying. That's now internally. So I'll be paying you forever.
That's the whole point, I guess.
And you're not just paying one person, you are paying two of them. Him and his mentor. And you're gonna realize that the mentor is sending this person.
You're right.
To you because they know it's easy for you to listen to an African like you, right? It's so easy for you to deal with an African. You speak the same language and everything, but the poor African maybe might not know everything. It's just like,
so they're playing on their familiarity, but because they have someone who looks like you, but then the person who's actually structuring the thing
that's my understanding psychologically. But that's not what they say, but that's how I understand it because I can't be foolish to the point that you just drag me into something.
Well, when it comes to general insurance, I see them kind of just like mortgage brokers, right? Because I picked up insurance. The first insurance I got when I bought my home, the guy isn't there anymore, and I got some life insurance for my mom and I, and now reaching out to the guy, he's not there. So they're just like salespeople, like at the bank. Like they could be there, but they may not be there. But either way, they get paid. I think, I don't know this because I'm not insurance, but I think they get paid on the trailers or some kind of commission based on whatever policy you're getting. So either, what I mean by trailers is that sometimes when people do like investments, we get paid on, if you do like a $500,000 investment, we may take like 1% of that, right? Trailers is the idea that they'll take 1% for the next 30 years. right? So I don't know how that's structured, but I imagine for them, that's how they get paid. So yeah, again, to you, you may see I'm just paying $50 or whatever, but they're going to keep earning money every year off you until the policy is, done or whatever. Or they may set up a thing where they get paid right away. But that's a good point you bring up, though, because I think transparency again goes back to the conversation.
Exactly.
Is like, insurance is one of those things what we call you don't win really. Because when you win, you're dead. So it's like,
yeah, of course, you have to die.
Yeah, it's just so you get it. You get insurance to protect the people that are gonna be left when you're not around.
Yeah,
and you get it. And there's different kinds of insurance, right? Like wealthy people, extremely wealthy people, may get insurance as a clever way of just passing on income to their kids. So there's different insurance. But if we're just talking about life insurance, for me, the reason I have life insurance is because if something were to happen to me, I want to make sure my kid and my wife, they have enough of an income to live the same life and pay off all our debt. That's my reason. So when I say, like, if a 20-year-old comes to me and say I want life insurance, I'm like, for what? Who are you giving money to? Like, who you protecting, right? And that's just me, right? Like, but so that's what I mean. Like, so life insurance and insurance is very important. The other side with insurance is also insurance is important for protecting your assets, right? So, for example, we have different kinds of insurance. I have insurance when it comes to like our investment properties because if there's a fire, I don't want to be out of that money. So that's a different kind of insurance. So there's about protecting your financial, when you have assets, you need to find insurance to protect them, right? But for life insurance specifically, or one that you hear commonly, people will ask like, is it better to get mortgage insurance or term life insurance? And I always say it's better to get term life insurance. So those of you who are familiar, when you get a mortgage, the bank will maybe pitch you mortgage insurance. So you get mortgage insurance. Let's say you got a loan for $500,000. You get mortgage insurance, and that will cover if something were to go wrong with you, right? The problem with mortgage insurance is that when you get it for $500,000, over time you're gonna pay down that mortgage, right? So like over the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to be $200,000 or whatever it is by the time it's done. So let's say in year 15, your mortgage now is at $200,000. Well, the bank is only going to pay that $200,000 because that's what's left in the mortgage, right? But you're paying a policy based on $400,000. So mortgage insurance in that case, I personally, and this is just my personal advice, not my mortgage advice, my personal thing, I don't think that makes sense. So I have term life insurance, which means is I get the same policy, but I line it up with my mortgage. So if I have a 25-year mortgage, I have a 25-year term life policy for $400,000. And if in year 10 I were to pass away, my family's still going to get the $500,000 or whatever number I said earlier. And they can use a portion of that to pay off the mortgage, but they'll still be left with the remaining balance to do what they need to do. So there's different ways to have that conversation. But again, the best thing is to talk to someone who's a licensed insurance agent. But more important to what you're saying, make sure they're actually looking out for your interest and giving you the best information based on your situation, not the one that necessarily will make them the richest, right?
They always say, we are looking at your interest. They even say sometimes, we got to help this community. We don't have millionaires.
Black person.
We don't have billionaires in our community. Look, why people are sleeping like this? Like, come on, man. You are working.
Wait. So who's becoming a billionaire off insurance? Like,
yeah. Like, come on, man. Are you working up yourself?
No, I mean, I don't.
I'm really sorry to my friends who are going to watch this.
You're gonna have a lot of fan mail.
Yeah, so I know.
Well, this is what AFRODIASPO is all about, man.
This is why we're here, for sure.
That's why we're here. We cover everything that people need to hear, man. Some people need to learn about some stuff out there, So it's definitely a great one, man. We're definitely, running out of time here. But, obviously, I'll give you a chance, to just, I know you don't like social media stuff. I know you're probably not even interested.
No, that's good. It's good.
But you have a lot of knowledge, bro. You have a lot of honesty in you.
Thanks,
and
man.
I feel like,
it.
people definitely need that these days, man, because you don't want to fall for anything wrong.
Yeah.
Because knowing somebody and trusting them to go through that, the mortgage, everything is a huge thing,
It is.
People can see how you've definitely, spill a lot of good stuff today.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of stuff today too, man. So
cool, man.
I do appreciate you. Once again, the book is on Amazon.
Yep.
You can cover everything. It doesn't only give you the mortgage, but also give you financial advice and everything.
Yep.
So Brighton, go ahead, man. Just let them know, where to get your stuff around.
Yeah, I mean, the book, like I've mentioned, is on Amazon, so if you want to grab that. If you want to learn just generally about finance, so I have wealthmarathon.com is where you can go to. I have like a kind of like a private membership. And the idea I created this is just to give you guys like courses and share some of the knowledge that I have. And I also share my journey because I'm trying to reach financial independence, right? I want to find a way to create like a passive income stream. So, I ain't trying to work all the time. I like working, but I like my money to be making money when I'm not working.
He doesn't work every time. He's in it.
So yeah, if you want to learn about mortgage, obviously you can contact me directly. Just go to you can go to my website, wealthmarathon.com. You get my contact information there. If you want to learn more about finance or anything like that, just general knowledge and stuff like that, go to wealthmarathon.com. There's a free membership you can try for 7 days. There's no credit cards or anything there. So you can just go in there, see some of the videos. If you like the stuff in there, then great. You can decide if you want to purchase. That's probably the best way. I would say the vast majority of you will be satisfied with just that alone. You get access to me. And then again, if you do want to work on me one-on-one, then what I would suggest is you send me an email. You can send an email to contact@wealthmarathon.com. And then just tell me a little bit about your story. I only take clients on if I feel I can actually deliver value because it's a huge cost to work with me on a year basis. So I have to figure out to make sure that makes sense for you and I, that I can actually deliver that to make sure that money you're spending makes sense for you. If it doesn't, I probably decline working with you because I'm not going to be able to add value for you. But go to wealthmarathon.com, check that out. On social, I am on YouTube at The Wealth Marathon, I think it's called. YouTube has a new handle thing, so just search wealthmarathon.com. You see my picture on there. And then on TikTok, I'm on just wealthmarathon.com, Wealth Marathon, and then on Instagram on Wealth Marathon as well. So yeah, lots of places to reach me out, but the best place, again, just go to the website, wealthmarathon.com, and then you'll find all the contact details for me on there.
That's awesome, man. Y'all can see already how really he is, man, how he's very, very motivated to work with you. So if you need help, man, about anything, make sure you go get the book. Make sure you go reach out to my guy Brighton for that, man. Just zoom it all out to that. Zoom it all out to that. Hey, man. So beautiful. I appreciate you, Brighton, for coming out here, man. We really appreciate your time and everything you've said, man. It's really beautiful. We're always blessed when you have these messages for free. It's
we got it for free.
We got it for free tonight.
This is the first free, the best free ever.
Or are you making something behind this? Who knows? Hey, but look, man, we appreciate you for being here, man. Major, if you want to say anything to close out the show, man, the floor is all yours.
No, I think we are blessed to have Brighton. Mm-hmm. Being an African, and also seeing another African in front of me here, talking about business. This is really an accomplishment for the entire continent.
Yeah,
because we gotta be able to give the hope to the people who are down there that even as we came here, we did not just become to be nobodies.
Right.
At least we're doing something.
Yes.
So that's a hope for them.
Yes.
So absolutely. I think I really appreciate being in front of you today.
Man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. Y'all already know, man, this was another sensational episode, bro. So thank you guys for tuning in. Do not forget, once again, subscribe to AFRODIASPO Podcast. We're going to be having a lot of artists out here, a lot of financial advisors, a lot of comedians, possibly. Anything to just spike up the show, man. So don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Let's go.